I used to have wild animals in my home. Michael said, man, I want to do that same thing when I get some money. I said, well, do it, Mike, if that's what you want to do. Don't let nobody tell you no different, right? Michael used to sleep with me, right? He did that with other kids. To me, that was just the way we came up as young people, as children. We came up going over for sleepovers and stuff. Only thing that happened was these people saw money, and they saw somebody who they could get to, because Michael didn't like to say no to anybody. He didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, right? So he was a pushover that way.
Motown 25 was that was a great thing. You know, first of all, when we did the Motown 25, it was just like the old days. All of us were superstars, and we used to have the big dressing rooms with the mirrors and all of the towels and the catering. Well, Mr. Gordy had us in one room like we used to with partitions, and we had a table and a rack for the clothes. It sort of like made us feel like we were just starting out again, and I think that's what made it so good. I never will forget the Jacksons did their thing. We were on stage with the Four Tops. You know, we did a number with them. I sung some of Levi's stuff. He sung some of mine, and we had a tremendous applause, man. And all of a sudden, I'm down in the dressing room, and I hear the stage almost goes crazy. And of course, it was Michael and Billie Jean. And I've never seen a performance like that in my life. In fact, I would say that was his most important performance till then of his career. Because, you know, he had so many after that, man. That, to me, that was his coming out party. He could do no wrong. He could do no wrong. But they say he was so tired after that show, so he put his whole heart in that show.
My fondest memory is the Motown 25.
Yeah.
We were on that show and doing some of our own hits, and he premiered the Moonwalk.
That was something. But what was so incredible about it, we were backstage after it was over. He gave so much. People were trying to comment and compliment him on his performance, but he was on this little stool or something. Mm-hmm. He could hardly move. He couldn't even speak. It
was like still out of body.
Yeah, he had to come
back to himself,
to earth.
Yeah,
you know, because he had really. Obviously, when you see the film, you realize how incredible that was. He had given all everything he had, and he could not talk to anybody. He could not say thank you. He could not say anything. I think he had to bring it down to earth again, because he was way beyond human experience.
When I first saw the Jacksons perform as a group, although looking at probably the best looking family that had been on a stage in a long time, Michael, as he came out and performed, captured all of the music, all of the audience, and all eyes went on him. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, you had a lot of groups singing doo-wop, and you had 4 or 5 people, and the rhythm, the dancing, the choreography of all the Jacksons was sensational. But when he would dance, and he would bounce, and he would sing, and he would smile, all eyes just went on him. And when I saw that, I just said, wait a second. He's got to do solo albums. He's got to be able to, it's a family, you don't want to break up a family. I certainly didn't want to do that. But featuring Michael Jackson, featuring Michael, he was so easy to feature that it was no stroke of genius that just said, okay. And it was a stroke of genius that Quincy Jones put the Thriller album together with Michael. And I guess when you sell in excess probably 150 million albums now, you know, it's all the energy that this young man put forth, along with his brothers, no question about it.
I remember hearing Sammy Davis Jr. We were talking once, and because I used to work with Sammy a lot, and I remember Sammy saying that he would go and watch Michael perform, and he said, "Hey man, you know, you got it now," because Sammy at that point had been noted as the let's say the biggest entertainer in the world. He and Frank Sinatra, and I thought, and I believed that, and he was at that point, but he knew that Michael was coming up and Michael was going to take over from him, and Michael did. But Michael got to be much bigger. I think he got to be bigger than any male star who ever was.
One of my fondest memories of him was they had a job in Houston, Texas, and this was a new hotel, and they had a big food court down underneath the hotel. So they had a restaurant there that they sold milkshakes for $35, and they called it Super Duper Whooper Looper. But if you bought this milkshake, the whole cast, or I didn't say cast, the employees would come over and at your table and sing. Like, "Hello, my darling, good day." And they had little guitars and banjos. So Michael ordered one, and when they came over, boy, he was so knocked out. He said, "Wow, man, this is really fun." So we went back up to the room, and about 10 minutes later, he knocks on the door. He says, "Hey, man, let's go and get another one of them Super Duper Whooper Loopers." I said, "Man, I can't eat another one of them things. I ain't even tried." So, and I'll never forget, we went down there again, he ordered it, and he just sat there, and I just seen so much joy in his face when he seen those people talking to him. I mean, singing for him.
Tee-hee. My fondest memory. That's how Michael laughed. He used to say to me, this is another one, he would always say to me, "Dang, Bobby, why you cuss all the time?" That's what Michael said to me.
He would knock on my door, and they'd come in and he'd say, "Hey, man, I want you to take a picture of me. I'm gonna make a face, and I want you to get it." And I said, "Okay, man." And he just made this face, and he crossed his eyes, and I got the picture. Well, one of the things I never forget, he said, "Now I want to see that picture, man. Make sure I see it." Because, see, at that time, it wasn't instant. You couldn't see nothing. You had to develop the films, you know. And he used to do funny stuff like that all the time.
With Germany. And my promoter, he was performing in Europe just a few years back, and my promoter, he had two little kids, you know, they went to see Michael's tour, and you know, I hadn't seen him in such a long time, and he said, "Well, do you know Michael? I'm trying to get some tickets for my kid." I say, "Yeah, I know Michael." I say, "But he probably don't remember me now. It's been so long." Well, anyway, I got the number to his office, his road manager, and I called and I said, "This is Dennis Edwards, Temptations, and could you tell Michael that I need a couple of tickets for my promoter's son?" Not only did he give me the tickets, he sent me a message back and told him, "Tell Dennis that I love him and I love the group." And I never will forget that, man. I never forget that. Because, you know, I hadn't talked to him or even spoke to him in maybe 10 or 15 years. He still remembered.
There's only one Michael Jackson, and there will only be one Michael Jackson. You have performers today in today's business that are trying to set their own legacy, and they're here today, and hopefully they'll be here tomorrow, but he'll be here forever. How many artists will be here forever? I am very fortunate in my lifetime to have met him, worked with him, can sing not like he can, his music. And I think as we look to the future, whether it's radio or television, satellite radio, the internet, the name Michael Jackson, there will never be another one. And that legacy is there forever. It's certainly in my life, and in the life of our children and our grandchildren, and the young people that are being born today. They will be dancing to Dancing Machine, to Man in the Mirror they'll be listening to and understanding the words, to Thriller, and hopefully not being afraid of ghouls. And it's all Michael.
I will remember Michael Jackson as a phenomenon, a one of a kind, one of the greatest I've ever seen.
Kenny?
I'll remember Michael Jackson as a great entertainer and a wonderful human being, that his spirit is so powerful that he'll never be forgotten. And I think in the days ahead that people will learn more about Michael's vision, that man in the mirror, you know, that he was talking about. And when I think about Michael Jackson, I think about him and smile, you know, and because he was one of the great ones, you know, but he's even greater now, you know what I mean, because that was just his body, his work was done. And so you got to take all of that work together now and say, what a life, you know, what can we learn from him, you know.
He was my son, he was my friend, my student. And he was the saddest thing in my whole life.
A lot of the skepticism and suspicion about him and the questions and the controversy has been lifted, and that we've gone back to the organic notion of who Michael Jackson was in our lives and who he was as a pop icon. And also as a person that we've known since we were all little kids, and Michael was a youngster as well. And I think that what his legacy is, you know, it's that we will remember him as this great showman and humanitarian who, when people say to me, do you think of Michael as being a tragedy, I just don't think of that at all. I think that Michael's story is one of triumph, not tragedy. This is a man who was the total embodiment of the American dream. This is a guy who came out of Gary, Indiana, and set the world on fire. He did amazing things with his life. Did he make mistakes? Yes. Were there some bad choices? Yes. But that's the humanity of Michael Jackson, I think, that's most appealing, is the fact that even though he was the king of pop, he was still fallible. He was a fallible king. He was a person who made a lot of mistakes that we could all relate to, because we all make a lot of mistakes. I know that he was doing the best he could with what he had to work with, and that's what I'm left with when I think of Michael.